October 21st, 1852, Elsie Vaughan was found dead in her childhood home, the Vaughan estate in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Now imagine you're standing at the end of a narrow hallway. The carpet is worn thin, the air smells faintly of old varnish and dust, and at the very end is a door painted purple, deep, old, slightly chipped. When you arrive at the Bellamy house, you're told not to open it. Eleanor Bellamy called you here. Her husband, 2 teenage children, and her parents are waiting. They tell you Elsie Vaughan is dead, found in the room with the purple door just after dawn. The neighboring police ruled it accidental. But you're not a detective by trade. You're here because Elsie requested you specifically. An old friend, a neutral mind, someone who noticed things others ignored. Her words, not yours. The house belonged to Eleanor's parents once. She inherited it when she married Robert Bellamy. Quiet, 32, wise in ways he rarely displayed. A great father, an acceptable husband. Their son Theodore, 18, was shy and dreamed of becoming an author. Their daughter Evelyn, 15, attended an elite boarding school and was never far from music or private tutoring. The housekeeper swears he heard footsteps in the night, but the family insists Elsie never left her room after midnight, and yet the purple door at the end of the hall is unlocked. Bellamy House is old money quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't comfort. It watches, and that door, it wasn't purple yesterday. You walk the house slowly, deliberately. Theodore tells you the color change means nothing. Painters came last month. Touch-ups happen. But when you ask who ordered the door painted purple, his answer stumbles.
Mother likes unusual colors.
Does she? You ask. He doesn't answer. He tells you his mother changed her will 2 weeks ago. Evelyn claims the purple door frightens her.
It's not supposed to be there, you know.
She insists the hallway used to end sooner, that the house changed. Evelyn has a history of nervous episodes, easy to dismiss, easier still to blame. The housekeeper tells you he heard footsteps at 1:17 a.m. He's precise about the time, too precise. He admits he repainted the door on Eleanor's orders.
Said the old color made it easier to forget?
He says. Forget Elsie?
Yes.
He answers nervously. You notice he has keys. He knows the house. Opportunity oozes from him, but the purple paint is still tacky. It hasn't fully dried. Eleanor found her sister at dawn. That's what she told the police. She came downstairs, noticed the purple door ajar, and found Elsie slumped against the far wall. No blood, no weapon, no signs of struggle. Just Elsie, 32 years old, eyes closed as if she'd simply fallen asleep. The police ruled it an accident, heart failure perhaps, but Eleanor called you anyway.
Elsie would have wanted you here.
She said, voice steady, eyes dry.
She trusted you.
You wonder why Eleanor looks so composed for someone who just lost her sister. You wonder why she keeps watching you so carefully. The clues were shown to you, but not how to see them. Elsie's diary mentions the door at the end, long before it turned purple. The hallway rug has been replaced recently, shorter than before. And the most important detail of all, the door opens inward, toward the wall, into nothing. You scrape the paint, just a little. Underneath is another color. Red, old, stained. The purple wasn't chosen. It was mixed, painted hastily, desperately, to hide what used to be there. The door remembers, Elsie wrote in her diary, but Eleanor remembers more. 32 years ago, Eleanor and Elsie Vaughan were close sisters, daughters of Richard and Ida Vaughan. Old money, old expectations. But Eleanor had a secret she'd carried since the age of 8, the day she discovered her father with a young female servant, a servant who had disappeared shortly after. She was pregnant and involved with Richard Vaughan. There was no police report, no funeral. Richard had covered his affair by murdering the woman after she gave birth. He locked her inside a sealed corridor and left her there, tried to bury his secret in the walls of his own home. When Eleanor stumbled upon the truth, he made her swear on her mother's life, never to speak of it. So she didn't. She was 8 years old and she carried it alone. Years passed. Eleanor married, had children, and when her parents gave her the Vaughan estate, now the Bellamy house, she buried the truth even deeper. She sealed the corridor again, tighter this time, painted the door white, then white again, but the red always bled through. 2 weeks ago, Elsie came to visit. She wandered the house out of nostalgia and found herself in Eleanor's private office. In a drawer, slightly peeking out, was an envelope with her name on it. In handwriting she didn't recognize. When she opened it, she found a birth certificate. Mother, unknown servant, Vaughan estate. Father, Richard Vaughan. Child, Elsie Vaughan. Adopted by Richard and Ida Vaughan. Eleanor found her standing perfectly still, the certificate trembling in her hands.
Eleanor,
Elsie whispered,
what is this?
and Eleanor, sweet, beloved Eleanor, felt something crack inside her. 32 years of smiling next to someone who was never supposed to exist. 32 years of protecting a man who had murdered a woman and locked her away to bleed out in the dark.
Put it back.
Eleanor said quietly, but Elsie didn't. She looked at her sister, her half-sister, and for the first time, she understood the distance, the careful politeness, the way Eleanor never quite met her eyes.
You knew.
Elsie breathed.
You've always known.
Eleanor led her to the hallway, to the door at the end.
I'll show you the truth.
She said, her voice calm, controlled. Elsie followed. She shouldn't have, but she did. The room was small, dark, the kind of space that was never meant to hold secrets this deep. Eleanor opened the door. Elsie stepped inside, and Eleanor followed.
This is where your mother died.
Eleanor said,
I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, but you have to understand I was only 8 years old.
Elsie looked her in the eyes.
Eleanor, I understand now. I forgive you.
Eleanor gave her sister one last hug.
I'm sorry.
She whispered against Elsie's shoulder, and for a split second, Elsie relaxed. She genuinely believed the apology was real. She turned her back to leave. Eleanor's hand was already moving. The knife was old, vintage really, Richard Vaughan's knife. She had taken it from his study years ago and kept it hidden, a reminder of what family loyalty demanded. One strike, clean, precise, between the ribs. Elsie gasped, staggered back against the wall, her eyes wide, disbelieving.
Eleanor,
She said in her last breath. Eleanor caught her as she fell, lowered her gently to the floor.
I'm sorry.
She whispered, but her hands didn't shake. The housekeeper heard footsteps at 1:17 a.m., Eleanor's footsteps, pacing, cleaning. By dawn, she was finished. She wiped the knife clean, returned it to the hidden drawer, and painted the door purple, mixing red with blue, to cover the stains she couldn't quite scrub away. Then, she waited 30 minutes, composed herself, and screamed. She played the part perfectly, the grieving sister, voice breaking at exactly the right moment. And Eleanor was a Bellamy now, old money, respected. Her husband's name opened doors and closed investigations. The local police chief had been at their wedding. The case was closed within 48 hours. Then, because Elsie had written your name in her diary, Eleanor called you too, to make it look real, to make it look like she had nothing to hide. But Eleanor didn't know about the letter Elsie sent you 3 days ago, the one that arrived the morning after her death.
meet me at Bellamy House. I need you to see the truth.
And Eleanor didn't know you had been watching her, the way her hands never shook, the way her grief felt rehearsed, the way she steered you toward Theodore, toward Evelyn, toward the housekeeper, anyone but herself. Behind the false wall, you find remains, old bones, a servant's uniform rotted through, and in an envelope, a birth certificate dated 32 years ago. There is also a letter addressed to you, Elsie's handwriting. You'll find what Eleanor has been hiding, and you'll understand why I had to be the one to open it. She's carried this alone for too long. Let her rest now. Let us both rest. You write your report, seal it, leave it with the family lawyer with one instruction: to be opened only if Eleanor Bellamy tries to repaint the door again. The purple door was repainted white, the hallway shortened again. Eleanor stands at the end of the hall, paintbrush in hand, and for the first time in 32 years she weeps, because the truth doesn't disappear. It waits at the end of the hall.